We made it to the 2000s, everybody. Let's see where these shows take us. Now, 2000s was probably the last phenomenal year of the WWF slash WWE. This was the peak of the Attitude Era where WCW was just falling to cracks and well, um, basically WWF could do whatever they want, and they took advantage of whatever they want because in this show you have some of the greatest moments of all time, and then you also have some what were they thinking moments of all time. Um, yeah, this was around the time where like they could do anything and they have top tier stars. Like Stone Cold was out for a good chunk of 2000, but they still had The Rock, Triple H, Undertaker, Kurt Angle was coming up, Jericho and Benoit were becoming stars. So there was a lot of people they could play around with as far as what they could do, but this show it was a tough watch. I mean, it wasn't a tough watch as far as like quality goes because I was entertained through and through. But some of the stuff made no sense, and some of the stuff was just filler, and it just kind of disappointed because some of these people could be doing bigger and better stuff. The first match we had the Right to Censor versus Too Cool, and this was just continuing the storyline of the Right to Censor trying to take over WWE and basically censor everything because this was around the time where WWF was getting flagged for going too far and too overboard. So they were just, no, absolutely not. Um, X Pac defeated Road Dogg. This match could have been good, but honestly, this was around the time where they were just trying to push X Pac to the top, which was good, but him as a heel didn't work. Road Dogg, they tried real hard to make him a single star. They try to make all of DX single stars. Some people just were just meant to be tag teams. Um, so I don't know what they were thinking, but at least X Pac got the victory. You could say that. Val Venus and Trish Stratus versus Eddie Guerrero in China. Winner, like whoever gets the pinfall, becomes the Intercontinental Champion. And they really meant anybody. So Trish Stratus at one point could have been the IC champion. That's crazy. But don't be surprised, a woman has been the IC champion before, and that, of course, being China, who ends up winning this match. I personally would have loved to have seen China be like, oh, I'm about to win the IC belt. Eddie Guerrero takes advantage, tags China from behind, and steals the victory. And then Eddie Guerrero's your IC champ. They could have built something off of that, but I get it. Eddie and China were basically the it couple around this time, so they didn't want to screw that up. They were still having good work with that. But I still wanted to see Eddie as the IC champion a little bit earlier than expected. He does eventually win it, of course, but yeah, this would have been the perfect time to give it to Eddie. Jerry the King Lawler defeated Taz, and one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. Taz, what did he do to Vince that made him be so hated? Like, I mean, he ended up becoming a commentator. Um, Jerry Lawler and Taz, every time they had nothing for these guys, they just put them together. They do this story once again in ECW's return in 05, 06, I believe. But yeah, this was just I wasn't too high on it. Um, the most infamous part of this entire night, Shane McMahon versus Steve Blackman in a hardcore championship match, and they went all out. Steve Blackman's probably his most famous match is this one, and particularly because of the ending where Shane McMahon's trying to run away. Steve Blackman has a kendo stick, smacks Shane, and then Shane falls like no fear at all. He just falls flat on his back, and then Steve Blackman takes a dive, and Steve Blackman gets his victory. But man, that dive was crazy. It was probably the famous part of this entire show, and kudos for that. But that was like this is the first great thing to come out of this show. Chris Benoit and Chris Jericho fought in a 2 out of 3 falls match. This was fine, but they had other better matches earlier on in the year, and plus with the IC belt being off of them, it kind of took me out of it. If anything, they could have just made a fatal four way. They could have done Jericho, Benoit, Val Venus, and Eddie. Fatal four way, just have all four men just go all out. Probably would have stole the show, which would have been unfortunate for the following match. But I still think that the following match could have still been the show stealer of the night, and of course that show stealer. Oh, by the way, Benoit won. Yeah, solid match. But anyways, the best match of this entire show and the one that defined TLC was the OG TLC match with Edge and Christian, the Dudley Boys, and the Hardy Boys. Um, Lita gets involved, gets speared head first into a lot of that was crazy. One of my favorite wasabs ever. There was just top tier, just balls to the walls craziness, and eventually Edge and Christian get the victory, rightfully so. A lot of people hated that Edge and Christian won all of these matches, but I think it made sense given that their characters were coward heels that did the least amount of damage, so then they took advantage and then won the match. So it was kind of smart on their part. But yeah, Dudley's, Hardy's, Edge and Christian, three of the greatest tag teams of all time, and this was what defined them. This WrestleMania 2000 and WrestleMania X7. The Cat versus Terry. And this was a stink face match. Basically, whoever shoves their ass on the competitor first. The real winner, honestly, was Perry Saturn when the Cat won, and then Perry Saturn has her crotch all over his face. There was parts of like Al Snow and Perry Saturn were trying to be involved. Cat and Terry just, if you like them, you like them. If not, then this was bad for you. I'm a little shocked that the Right to Censor didn't get involved at all. Like, it would have been funny if they just came out midway through the match, like, stop this match, and then they all just, instead of fighting each other, they all beat up the Right to Censor. That would have been funny. But you get what you get, and yeah, if you're into this, good for you. Undertaker versus Kane. Um, At this point, we were all over Undertaker and Kane. We already did it a lot in 1998, a little bit in 1999. By 2000, we were over it. Especially Biker Taker and Kane didn't have that much good chemistry. Originally, it was supposed to be Big Show and Kane, but Big Show had to be sent to OVW because I guess he was being too much of an ass backstage, from what I hear. But eventually, it led to just a substitute, throw in the Undertaker, and it didn't even end. No, it ended in no contest when Kane's mask was removed. Undertaker stood tall. It was just a disappointment, and they could have had an okay match, but it just wasn't. I kind of do wish that both men were doing something else. I mean, the following year they're in a tag team, so it's just the whole back and forth with Kane. Whenever they have nothing for these guys, they just put them together. I've noticed that with Undertaker and Kane. But the main event for the WWF Championship, it's The Rock, Triple H, and Kurt Angle, and the story was actually pretty good. It was Kurt Angle having feelings for Stephanie, them going at it, Triple H getting jealous, but then both men are seeking to be WWF champion. Rock is taking advantage of that. Kurt Angle was the previous king of the ring. Triple H was the previous champion. There was a lot of layers to it, and this has potential of being one of the greatest main events in SummerSlam history. But unfortunately, we all know what happened. Triple H was going to hit the pedigree on the announce table. The announce table collapsed early. Kurt Angle got hurt and basically had a concussion for half of the match. So it just ended up being Triple H and The Rock. And it was just super distracting. And this is always going to go down as the biggest what could have been. Like, this could have been a classic, but unfortunately, what happened to Kurt Angle happened. And then they basically had to pivot, and then The Rock won. I don't know if that was the original plan. I believe so, because I think um, Kurt Angle won his first championship in Minneapolis, so I believe this was the plan all along. But I know the concussion kind of ruined this match, and overall, this show, it was entertaining. I don't hate it, but the only great things out of this show, if I'm being honest, was Shane and Steve Blackman and the triple threat TLC match. Everything else was just fine, handy dandy. They filled up the card with 10 matches, something WWE currently can't do. But at least everybody threw in their minutes to shine. But overall, this show, whew, what to give this show? I'll give it a C plus, simply for the fact that I know that deep down they could have actually tried and do better stuff with these guys. And don't get me wrong, um, this show was entertaining, but it wasn't the greatest. If I'm making sense. 2001. This is when we get to talk about the invasion storyline. Oof. Let's see how that goes. Anyways, take care, everybody.